Isn't it crazy how your parents beat you when you're little and then you have to take care of them when they're old? And John Stamos, man, the illest.
Here's to the pursuit of advancements that help make new engines possible and dreams a
This is
reality.
my
Here's to the pursuit
Miss
of
Webcam Watcher
years of earning America's trust.
video where I talk about
Not just
nothing and I just record myself, or I just
everyday low prices on Pennzoil.
or I
Available
talk
in
about
Walmart.
my issues, like the attempts I make at life. And let me lower this. TV's on. Criminal Minds. Shout out to Criminal Minds. I already saw this one, but like I don't watch the endings because I'll get up and do something else, like smoke a blunt or something. Um, so I'm writing this book. I have 2 chapters out. One is a phone call. That's chapter 2, and chapter 1 is like setting the location. Now, in my plot, I have to do certain things. I have to use dialogue, but like a lot of my plot is dialogue and it's just paragraph. But then I cut it up when it's in the phone call, so you can respect that. But they're shorter. I don't know. You have to read it to. It's called The Legacy of Genesis by Suhaey Rosario, and the main character is someone who is um in the future going to the past, going way deep into the past. I don't know how they do it. It must be really far into the future if we make it before this earth gets too old, our sun. um I don't know if they can tell. I think maybe we're in the middle, since they can't tell if we're in the front or in the back of the sun's. I think they're saying that it's old, of the sun's lifetime. So anyway, I'm schizophrenic and I'm schizoaffective. That means I have a mood disorder and it causes my brain to function in another sort of way that's not PC. And I can appreciate being PC, but I don't think PC should become like a curse word, in itself. Too much PC is like Friday nights in Iraq. they they go and they shoot their women on Friday nights in like a gladiator stadium. Yo, the Middle East needs SGI. If you're listening to me, the Middle East needs for you to just chant and chant and chant for the Middle East, like specifically Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Israel. Chant for them, because their gods are they're in a tussle, and from so much smoke on the ground, so much dirt on the ground, so much sand and soil on the ground, there's a huge tussle and you can't see who's who. You can't help who's women and who's losing. You can't even kick ahead because you don't know what's going on between your gods. Because, and I think that now that that cave, that not cave, well, I don't know what it was, but the Herod's temple where Jesus Christ is said to be buried, which was found with blood whose DNA chromosomes only showed female characters. I think it's the Y. I don't know. I think what is females XX and males are XY. If that's the case, then there's no Y present in that blood. That's what I heard. Now, I like to fantasize about that. I could take information, take it for real. I mean, because I had heard. I mean, this is on television that I heard it. But no, wait. Yeah, no, that was on television that I heard it. But I had heard about before this 10, 15 years ago, I was hearing about the temple being uncovered, which was like totally Exorcist, I don't know. But it's the opposite of the Exorcist. And I think people now are showing their true colors, and the Middle East is in trouble because they're all the demons are born through the Middle East. It seems like, unless they're sacrificed here by a human and become possessed, or are born with that serotonin thing. It's very real, and if we lose our faith, like my friend Nick. I mean, when he told me that he had no need for God, I was like, oh my God, this guy, he's probably not even in the book because he never registered. He has no need. And so maybe he'll just, I don't know. He's the epitome. He thinks that he's the man. So why bother God with problems that he doesn't have, that he can solve himself? And for that depression that gospel music cures me of, then he just takes his pills and fucking eats, just like anybody else. He'll spend 5 years fat and then be skinny for 2 years. So anyway, in my book, The Legacy of Genesis, which is what was before the Bible's time, I want to explore like the end would be like, I don't know if it's the end of the trilogy, because I feel like it's kind of long, and it has a lot of dimensions, so you can't really cover it in like 2 or 3 or 5 acts. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on. Like, people don't have faith, but it's like it's here. And it's not that big of a deal. You know why? Because it's at the right time. And half of the world, the karma that people are throwing out, is like everybody's negating each other. And that's how a demon gets into power. You got to give respect to where respect is due. And God would never want to come through hell to live again, to like be reassessed, in heaven. So in my book, this girl wants to find out the origins of God, the origins, not of God, but of evolution, of like culture, bodies, like hominoids, between hominoids and humans. There were women being born, and these women had the ability to give birth without sperm. Their physical bodies, eventually they would mature and eventually naturally become pregnant. Being schizophrenic, I get to like feel all these emotions, all these souls, all these like energies. Like me, if I don't take my medication, I feel like my like all my energy is up over my body, and it's just like a cloud, like that black cloud on the commercials. But I don't necessarily get depressed. Perhaps I just don't acknowledge feelings like that. But I just say, yeah, so what? Because I'm not gonna be depressed forever. I'm happy at times, I'm questionable at other times. I would never say that I was depressed, even though I'm like, yeah, I'm depressed. But that's what they call the mania, because I don't feel it. I'm always like on some other shit. But they're like, well, you might be depressed, and I'm like, well, it's a case of denial, because I would deny that, but they would tell me that yes, I am. Um, I think that they should. I think the Buddhists of the world, SGI, and the original Buddha, the kin of Buddha. I think is that the Dalai Lama? No, that's not the Dalai Lama. That's Indian. Anyway, the king, the blood of the Buddha needs to chant for peace in the Middle East. All his peoples do. All of them. You have to chant for be, be, before you chant for yourself. You chant for that. And the SGI too. I think they should all chant for the Middle East before you chant for yourself. Chant for something else other than you, so you don't become conceited and taken apart. Your roots start to rot when you don't give in every aspect of yourself. So anyway, at the end of the book, the girl that travels back in time, this girl dies and is put in a coffin that makes her laugh, like Aurora. The Spanish girls know what I'm talking about. Aurora, the one that gets refrigerated and was brought back to life, and all these are hard and all that bullshit. Well, something happens to this girl, and so her mission, her desire, and they give you a survey or whatever when you wake up and assimilate you, and you need to assimilate to some type of life, and you get to choose, just like a heaven, and or not. I mean, I guess it all depends when they wake you up. Hopefully they won't wake you up in times of war, but you know, unless they need you, and that's your destiny. But like Nicholas could not need God and end up being a God for himself. He could be his own God because he can escape the afterlife. I mean, eventually he'll die. He's just prolonging his lifestyles or whatever. Um, but yeah, the girl is born in New York City. She has an inheritance of some kind. She invests wisely, increases her money, and dies, and is I say like terrible things, like she would die young, because then that way she can be young, but she could be old, and on her way into the past she could grow young. Yeah, so she'll grow young, and I mean, that defies everything, because you're still living your life. Anyway, in the end, the girl ends up meeting God, or the originate, like meeting God. Where it comes down to one person, and she can't meet him because he dies right as she's entering the door. You know, she's coming